Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the Stade de France. This is a World Cup preview with Alfie here. How you doing, Alfie?
How are you? I'm good, thank you. Yeah, we're just going on a little walk.
Yeah, having a little stroll. Because obviously we're here for the third, fourth place playoff. The game that no one wants to play in.
Everyone wants to play, and Steve Borthwick and everyone this week saying it's a very important game.
Oh, it's such an important game.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I couldn't believe how early people were turning up for this game. So some people care.
Well,
and we care, Alfie.
We do care, of course we do. But when you've got a World Cup final tomorrow, it is quite hard to get as excited for it as that New Zealand-South Africa game.
Well, we'll let the fans get up to all their shenanigans over there. Let's talk about the World Cup final then.
Yeah.
How you doing? You all right? Nice to meet you, man.
You
good?
too? Yeah.
You
I'm going to see you around here, to be honest.
Oh, Sam, there you go. I knew this would happen, Alfie. How you doing, man? Good luck. Prediction for the World Cup. I'm not going to talk about tonight. Prediction for the final tomorrow.
New Zealand by 7.
New Zealand by 7.
One score game.
Where is your gut feeling, Alfie, in terms of how this one is going? When you think ahead to the World Cup final, just like gut feeling at this stage?
My gut feeling is New Zealand, because I struggle to look past the fact that they had a far easier semi-final. They had an extra day's rest as well. And South Africa, I don't think a team has ever had as difficult a run to a World Cup final as they've had. And I just wonder whether all of that means that New Zealand's slight favourites for me. But what do you think?
Well, that is the question, because you're right. South Africa will have completed the set of playing the rest of the top 5 teams when they play tomorrow night. I'm just listening to that Zombie song, a remix of the Zombie
is that what it
Cranberries
was?
song. I bet all the Springbok fans are singing Rassie, Rassie. And that's the big talking point, isn't it, ahead of this game? The bold decision by the South African coaches, the 7-1 split. We've had a little bit more time to sit with it now. And I don't know what you think, Alfie, but my thought is maybe it's not the risk that we're building it up to be, because, well, there haven't been that many injuries. Again, I'll touch wood for the sake of the players. That isn't the case. And as long as there's no injuries, I see this as South Africa just leaning into what they do really well.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it is a risk, because you can't get away from the fact of not having a backup scrum half is a risk. Going with 7 forwards leaves you potentially exposed in other areas. But what I keep coming back to is Jacques Nienaber and Rassie Erasmus have earned the right to make these big calls. They have such a good track record, and I know the Springbok fans will put their faith in them, but you trust in them to make the right decision. It doesn't mean it's not a huge risk. I think it still is, but I think given the track record they have with this Springboks team, you say, do you know what, if you want to roll the dice like that ahead of a World Cup final, then who can blame them?
I totally hear that, and also I'm thinking, like, just think outside of rugby. Every person that's been a massive success in whatever field, they have one element of their story in common. They always put everything on the line. Like, there's people who invest the value of their home in their business because they've just got a dream, and it pays off big. And I think there's a little bit of that with Rassie and Jack. They're doing the same thing. They're going, we're gonna make a really bold call and hope that it comes off. And it's death or glory.
And I also think it's great for the game. Like, all this discussion of will they ever go 8-0, or Nienaber's before said maybe one day we'll do a 4-4 split bench. Like, I think evolving the game, changing the game is a natural part of rugby's evolution. Like, if you even look back to George Smith when he became the first player to compete for the ball over the breakdown and completely changed that area of the game.
Jonah Lomu
as well. And they completely changed areas of the game, and teams have to adapt. And I think Nienaber and Erasmus, to a degree, have a little bit of that.
And in terms of that, one thing I'm fascinated to chat to, because there will be South African and New Zealand fans here tonight, just to get a sense of that rivalry, because I found it fascinating the way Siya Kolisi talked about this game. The biggest game of our lifetime, he said.
Yeah, biggest game that he'll ever be involved in.
Yeah, and which is an amazing thing to say for a man who lifted the World Cup 4 years ago, but there is an extra special element with the fact it's against New Zealand. And, you know, it's almost like the rest of history between 1995 and now doesn't really matter. This is the second big moment after 95, because these are the 2 biggest teams in the sport.
Well, why don't we look at it a slightly different way? And imagine England are in a World Cup final tomorrow, but they're playing Wales. I think we would be saying that is a much bigger game for England than the final 4 years ago. I think it's much bigger for South Africa because they're playing their great rivals. Here, the boys. How are you, lads?
How are you doing?
Speaking of it, it's like you said the word Wales and suddenly they appeared. How you doing, boys?
Good.
So your prediction for the game tomorrow, the World Cup final?
New Zealand.
It's got to be New Zealand.
New
yeah.
Zealand.
100%.
So we got that's everyone we've spoken to so far saying the All Blacks.
Yeah, you want to be underdogs though, don't you? South Africa will be happy with that. They're happy to go under the radar.
I think they struggle past England. New Zealand all the way.
New Zealand all the way. No. See, I think it's a coin flip. I look at it. I don't know about you, Alfie. I look at this as a coin flip. I'm just edging the Springboks way with the weather as it is now. It's raining in Paris, and more of the same is.
And we know the way
forecast.
the Springboks are going to play as well. Gone back to Faf and Pollard as the half-backs. They're going to kick the lever off it. I think it's going to be a more similar game to what we saw in the semi-final against England and arm wrestling. That maybe favours the Boks.
It's an England jersey
We've
there.
got an
Sorry, I
England
thought it was
fan.
a hat-trick of Welshman.
No. A rose between two thorns.
Oh, good to see you, man. Top man, you here tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, you are.
Enjoy the game, boys.
Take care.
Take
That
care.
seems to be the story, actually. That I think a lot of people have bought a package of tickets, which included tonight and tomorrow. I wonder if that wasn't the case, how many people would actually be here tonight.
Well, yeah. It's a funny game though, isn't it, tonight? I know we're talking about the World Cup final because that's obviously the big one. The third, fourth place playoff. I feel sorry for England and Argentina players, and they've talked a good game this week of saying how important it is.
Come
but
on, England!
After the semi-final that England had last week, you do feel sorry for them.
Yeah, back to the World Cup final. Where were we? So, just the scale of this match
And the rivalry.
and the rivalry and the fact that it's not 2019 that's been talked about. It's not 2011, 2015. It's just all the talk. It's like, and we mentioned Jonah Lomu. It feels like this is the rematch after '95. It just makes it fascinating, and you can't argue with the World Cup pedigree. This is. Can I just say, Sweet Caroline's playing.
Of course it is.
This is a song that needs to be just ended now. It was great for a bit, but we've had overkill now, haven't we?
Yeah, I'm trying to see how it's going down. It's tough to tell from here, but yeah,
It's like Mexican waves.
Oh,
They
mate.
just need to go.
Don't get me started on this. The third, fourth place playoff is going to be Mexican wave central, I reckon. Inside the first 10 minutes, we'll have a Mexican wave. It's an absolute disaster, but there we go. Yeah, I think rivalry. It's amazing, isn't it, for the World Cup final? New Zealand, South Africa, the two most dominant teams in world rugby over the years. 28 years since they've met in a World Cup final.
Incredible. And bearing in mind, there hasn't been another winner of a World Cup in 20 of those years
Exactly.
since England. That is remarkable. We've had a semi-final here. We've had a pool match 4 years ago. And however you look at it, when you look back down the results, it's hard to split these two. What's quite interesting is the last two meetings were dominant performances one way and the other. And I don't know how much we take the last two games as a blueprint for what we're going to see here. I don't know.
The other interesting point to perhaps mention, which someone put in the comments on the video that we did on my channel, which you can go check out at the moment looking ahead to the final, was South Africa in World Cup finals. They've never lost. They've never conceded a try.
It's an amazing record.
It's an amazing stat. And you just wonder, sometimes teams have a habit, don't they, of being able to turn up on the big occasion. And there's something about this Springboks team, I think, that there's something about that in them as well, and in the South African DNA. So maybe that feeds into your kind of hunch, Tim, that maybe the Springboks are going to do it.
But then you talk about built into the DNA, there's an expectation in New Zealand that they will be competing for and winning World Cups, to the point that it wouldn't be a surprise for many New Zealanders that this team would win, having dubbed them only months ago, the worst New Zealand team of all time. It's incredible, isn't it?
It's amazing. Ian Foster.
What a redemption story this would be for Ian Foster, by the way. Yeah.
Ian Foster, Sam Cane as well. He's been massively questioned as whether he's good enough to be the captain of the All Blacks. I think his form did dip a little bit in there, but even so, he's been sensational, I think, in the knockout stages of this World Cup. And Ian Foster, he's essentially been sacked because he didn't want to move on. They replaced him, announced his replacement when he didn't want them to announce his replacement either. So to win a World Cup final and then kind of head off into the sunset, giving everyone the V's, I would imagine.
I hope he did that.
amazing.
He should put his sunglasses back on that he did for that press conference that time and just, I'm out.
Yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. So you tell me, who do you think's going to, right, final question, right? Again, in the channel, just put down who you think's going to win. We love the rivalry, we love the matchup, the 7-1 split, the fact New Zealand haven't moved from their 5-3 split and the way they're going to play, except they've gone for the big boys on the bench. All that pedigree, all that history, all on the line in 80 minutes, maybe 120 minutes or 100 minutes, we'll wait and see. But who's going to win this trophy tomorrow night at this stadium, Alfie?
I'm going New Zealand, partly through stubbornness of sticking with my pick. I did mention them as winners of the World Cup before the start of the tournament, so sticking with that. But I genuinely think it's a flip of a coin.
I think the same. I'm going to edge South Africa. So I'll tell you what, the next person that walks by, I'll just get them to have a casting vote. So who's winning the World Cup tomorrow night?
Jose.
No, it's definitely one thing I can say for certain. It won't be France. You heard it here first. Who's winning tomorrow night? Who's winning tomorrow night?
All blacks. All blacks. All the way.
Have we? No one said South. Where are the South African fans? They'll be around here somewhere.
They'll be around. They'll be at the bar. That's where they'll be.
They'll be in the comments section saying the box.
They'll be in the comments section where it's where you need to head. Alfie is Alfred Reynolds Rugby on YouTube. Obviously hit subscribe and like this video. Leave your comments and we'll see you on the next one.